Is it anybody out there? These some words from my subconscious. Yeah. Borderline. I'm so bionic in my subconscious. I be spitting, I never run out of options. Wisdom and logic, predicted it like a Nostradamus. I meditate in silence, so much inventory in here. Anything you need, you can find it. Flashbacks of hard times, horror movies in my mind. Roll up the herb cause it helps me unwind. Look around here, ain't no telling what you might find. Old crimes that can't even escape my mind. Traveled the world, took so many notes, bought many clothes. All I seem to have is time, but tell me where it goes. Euphoria, paranoia from way before. Operate this computer with ancestors' codes. These be some words from my subconscious. Is it anybody out there? Words from my subconscious. Is it anybody out there?
Spiritual hygiene and self-care is our topic for today.
Reclaiming our power as the I Am, wholeness.
Personally, knowing what is true and what's not is like a feeling, is like an inner knowing. You know, that I do not need to explain. I know what's right and what's wrong. Do not harm, have good intent and look to be a kind person. So, because we've not been told to be true, we've been, they told us lies in our childhood, our parents, caretakers.
So that will do it for our list for everybody out there. And like I said earlier, if you guys want to take a picture of it, if you guys want to save it in any type of fashion, feel free. This is absolutely for all of us to be able to use and just have reminders of our conscious gifts and tools. Continue and make our way to the root chakra, the base of the spine, cleansing, purifying this red energy center as bum bum bum.
Yes, sir.
Here we are. Grand day.
Yeah.
Welcome everybody.
Grand day. Yes.
Glad to be with you guys. Glad to be with you guys, as we're not able to be here last week, but we are here now for episode 8 of the Friday Expedition. I am Marcus ChristoLight, and we have Magic Yana with us as well. And our topic that we are going to be exploring and having fun with is going to be...
It's a creative art flow, and it's our topic for today. Wholeness. Namaste. Flow and enjoy with us. Reclaiming our power as the I Am, wholeness.
That's right. Creative art flow. We're going to do some creative art flowing, share with you guys, be live and do some creating. And you guys are welcome to grab your art, your poetry, anything that you would like to share as well. And you can even, if you want, take pictures of your art, send it to either one of us during the episode or after the episode, and I will gladly add it in to the highlights for the next episode. Or I'll also post them on the Instagram page so you guys can check them out. How are you doing today, brother man? Glad you're doing better in your health.
Yes, sir. Way better. Really, really, really good. So I had some cold plunges as well in the last days that helped to,
Hmm.
yeah, sharpen my mind again. So yeah, good to be back.
Yeah, man. What was some of your tools that you used for your self-care during that period outside of the cold plunge?
Lots of tea, herbal tea, and breathing techniques, doing breathing techniques and freeing my nostrils, also inhaling, red light therapy as well. So, and resting, having my legs up and really getting some time for myself. Also some stretchings, also some physical movement. So yeah, I've done fair a bit, because if I give my body the signal to be healthy, with my actions, then it's going to show me this result as well. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, I love red light treatment. I also have been really it's been coming into my field a lot lately is ultraviolet ray treatments as well. And I'm actually about to order my father, well, I guess my father and myself, a Tesla ultraviolet wand to be able to start using for our body and our overall well-being. And my dad's recovering and still healing from a brain hemorrhage that he had about 6 months ago. So he kind of got a little bit of nerve damage in parts of his face and in parts of his mouth. So we've been doing some internal things, and those internal things haven't really done much. And the doctors also can't identify exactly what it is that's going on. So we're gonna look into the ultraviolet ray, because the ultraviolet ray is able to help stimulate the nervous system. It helps regenerate cells, and it helps bring less inflammation, as well as reduction in pain, and it releases tension in the areas that it's focused on. And it's pretty cool. It takes the Tesla coil technology, then it takes the UV ray, and then it's a little device, and then it has a little extension on it. And basically, you just put it up to your body area, and you hold down the button, and then the ultra ray violet will then shoot out like little lightning bolts directly into the area that you direct it, and it brings stimulation and recalibration to that area. Very, very wonderful, beautiful Tesla technology that we can all access. And if anybody out there is curious on how to get one, I can direct you exactly where to get one for only $75. It's definitely a game changer for sure. You ever used anything like that?
I haven't, no.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, sounds
So with
awesome.
that being said, I'll go ahead and hand it over to you. If you kind of want to talk about a little bit of your path the connection to art, and what art means to you when it comes to your journey and the way that it's able to help you, through your healing process, your connection, as well as anything else that you feel.
Drawing or writing now is for me like a daily thing. And there were times I did not know what to write or draw. I didn't trust myself enough. And yeah, the more I did it, I think I started doing it 4 years ago. It changed my life. drastically, or like 3 years ago even. So usually we just have to start doing something. I think we should clear our schedule and have lots of free time to be inspired to take action towards something that is meaningful to you, and yeah, we could talk about the meaning of life right now, but with the art, we express something that's within us. For me, it's drawing, and I just always start in the middle. So no matter what I do, when I draw, I start in the middle. And I build around the middle, look that it all stays balanced in its way. And I use shapes and colors. So, and if you then use numbers as well to structure the drawing, it's very magical in its way. It's you can create whatever you want to create with it, just by following the structure that you feel called to use. If it looks like aligned, and you see it, it's geometry. If you learn balancing things out as well when you do it this way. So I started doing this on this scale, like with drawing, this year. Before I wasn't drawing that much as I do now. Before I was writing a lot over the years, but now this year, from March on, beginning of March, mid of March, I started drawing here, and like my entire home is full of drawings. So all codes for me, I listen to podcasts, something like this. I just like listen to it and was drawing, or I listen to music that inspires me, conscious music that helps me expand and evolve. So always doing something creative these days, I must say. I don't try to plan too much. And really enjoy my creative side, which I got to explore this year. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I was kind of curious. I was kind of curious on like, what kind of brought you to such beautiful, unique, multi-dimensional art, because it's very unique to you, and it's really interesting. I haven't seen anything quite like yours exactly, and I love looking at it, man. It's really beautiful and fun to look at. So thank you for it.
Yeah, thank you.
And feel free to share some.
Yeah, sure thing. I have one here. So you tell me if you can see it. Because I have the picture in front of my head, I can't really see if you see it.
Yeah, let me actually change the camera style. Boom. Perfect.
Yes. This is one. I give you the one I started first, actually. And I kind of finished it just a few weeks ago. So I kind of edited it. If I'm finished, I will see.
Yeah. I love how it has a 4-dimensional look to it.
Yes.
Now, do you find yourself typically listening to music while you do this art, or are you more in the stillness of quietness?
Oh, definitely listening to music. So what I do definitely is connecting to this world. So I'm really looking that I stay on Earth. And my quiet time usually is in the mornings and when I go to bed before sleeping. But when I'm creative, I usually have music on. But I have always music on. So like, music was something that kind of felt like it was helping me to regain energy, in a world where everything is, chaotic. So music has been with me always. I love listening to music when I draw. Definitely. Sometimes I listen to an audiobook as well. Some spiritual audiobook, like, so always with the flow. Like, I can't say I always do it this or that way, because for me it's a very fluent thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
I know how the pendulum comes back if I say something different, so then I always set myself a new quest. Like, it's very interesting to live in my mind. I'm always kind of doing something and thinking nothing at the same time, like it's not that I'm thinking, but I'm always managing some situation in my mind. So, in my heart as well. Very interesting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like an agent, Like
The observer observing the observer.
Yeah. And you're
Welcome
just
in,
right
Patrice.
Yeah.
What are you saying?
You're just right looking at yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and looking at yourself, yeah.
I had a really deep moment like that not that long ago.
What do you say?
I had a really deep moment like that yesterday. There was a moment where I was can't remember exactly what it was I was looking at, but I was like gazing into it. Then all of a sudden my thought process started coming through, and it was like, okay, now I remember. Might be FYI, but I was sitting on the toilet and I was looking over at the sink, and I had my 2 crystal rings sitting on the sink, and I was just gazing at the crystal rings while I was sitting there. And then I got so deep into the gaze that all of a sudden that scene from The Matrix popped up in my head. And a lot of you may know what this scene is, but the scene in The Matrix where Neo goes to meet the Oracle, and then he goes inside the house, and then he sees those kids playing with different objects using their psychic abilities. And then he goes up to this kid, and this kid has the spoon, and then the kid explains and teaches Neo how to bend the spoon through telepathy. And that came to my mind while I was gazing at the rings. And all of a sudden I was getting into such a deep gaze that all of a sudden it started coming through my head. I was like, wow, how fascinating that these rings, this whole bathroom around me and everything, is like in a simulated vibratory field. It's not actually like a finite physical thing that's like staying put. How fascinating is that? And then the more I just gazed into the rings, I could just like sense and feel just nothing but an energy field of it. And it just felt very deep in the oneness going into that gaze. And then I like looked away and I started looking around at the bathroom. And then it just felt like I was literally just floating in a box, basically, in the bathroom, and just space. And it's like, man, you know, it feels really good to remember this more often, especially in my everyday life, and to like really start sensing it more. It's very extraordinary, this life that we're living in. And I mean, it's so extraordinary that we can't even really use words for a lot of it. It's really amazing, such a blessing.
Definitely, you know, and I add to that, and you know, something that just happened in my life, the same thing basically, you know. You know, I became aware of, I was laying in bed when you know, and I felt gravity, and and then I was like, okay, and then I switched into the self that feels no gravity, you know. So I said to myself the same, like, you know, I was just like observing that transition so beautifully, that I know did this in a meditation with people, so we can just do it together now, you know, even when we sit now and we just say to ourselves, like, we feel the gravity in this present moment, you know, and we feel our body and we feel gravity working on it, and now we're tuning into ourselves, into the self of ourself, which feels gravity right now, right? And now we tune into the self that does not feel gravity. And it's, you know, it works anytime if you know how to do it. So life becomes lighter and lighter, and you can really be, you know, more energetic, because you are controlling yourself from the outside. Basically, like, you have energy centers all around you, and your field of energy and what you access is very magical in its way. Yes, it's also within, but it's also without. And we are so magical beings that we can actually, you know, always be very observant of what we do, how we do it, why we do it, and have our intentions clear with every word that we speak. You know, many people aren't aware of their intentions. So, you know, my artwork, you know, is very intentional. So for me, it was very difficult, not knowing how to be intentional as a child, to create something, because I wanted to have it intentional. Like, I'm a perfectionist. I have to say it that way. You know, like, I really, if I do something, I either don't do it, or I extremely look into the detail of it. And yeah, we gotta be very in tune with our intuition, you know, and intention. So, and inspiration, what is inspiring us. Yeah, you know. Oh man.
Mm-hmm. I love that you say that, because you know, what I want to talk about a little bit here and share this art piece is, you know, one thing that I like to focus on with my art is, you know, being intentional. And one aspect of being intentional with the art is to use, you know, symbology, use reminders, use different things that are able to help either remind me of my essence or my inner child, or symbolism and art that can help me be able to be activated or go into a more conscious state of myself, so to say. So all around my room, you know, I have very intentional things up on my wall. You know, I have a lot of lion stuff. The lion stuff helps me create with, you know, that Lyran energy, because I became aware that I have a Lyran connection when it comes to my soul journey. So having lion things around me helps me remember that type of activation and that type of connection that I have in this lifetime. And I have like a lot of Egyptian stuff, because that helps me ground into the Egyptian knowledge and the different qualities and traits that they carried into this earth and humanity. And along with that, just also a lot of colorful and beautiful things that help keep the inner child alive, like Dragon Ball Z stuff. Like I have a Goku picture, Dragon Ball Z poster. You know, those things help my inner child stay alive, help me remember to stay passionate about, you know, the things that are creative and fun, but also do have spiritual principles as well as growth within them. And this art piece here, I painted, I think roughly maybe about 4 years ago, I'd probably say. And this art piece, I didn't know in the moment what I was going to paint, but it ended up becoming basically like a soul blueprint for me. And this symbol in the middle, this white symbol, is a Lyran symbol. So it's a galactic Lyra symbol that represents unified consciousness. And each part actually holds a different part of the reminder. And then I also have an Ankh here. So the Ankh also helps me ground to my ancestral lineage of energy. And then we have, you know, they call it the Star of David in some cultures, but this symbol goes way, way back to the original, you know, galactic meaning of basically unification, you know, unification of the higher and lower, the masculine and feminine, wholeness, the Merkaba. And then I have also here, I have a infinity loop with a heart in the middle. And then I have basically a dualistic balance between the red and the blue, just to represent the unification of duality, along with the infinity that duality is within. And then the spirals are just great reminders of the spirals of life. So this painting here was used to bring very deep spiritual and universal connection through this art. And, you know, another thing too with art is that, you know, we're able to also create blueprints, basically, you know, with art. It's almost like it's like a mapping or a coding system for certain energies or light to be able to be represented, so to say, come into this plane for us. So I just wanted to show this and kind of explain a little bit about the intentions that I use when it comes to my painting. And I actually really don't draw or paint that much. My art is more so of my voice, poetry, lyricism, as well as the content creating, producing things. But every now and again, I definitely dive into drawing and painting. How much do you do with vocal? Do you do a lot of poetry or anything like that?
Oh no, I do sing and practice singing. So, but like, and I write. So like, I was just thinking like if I would read something today, but like it's in German mainly. I haven't read over the English one yet, and I haven't wrote too much in English. I found out a new thing for myself that I'm, you know, in German I really spit one line after the other, and it just flows out of me in a transmission like a very powerful, you know, if you just read it, your mind changes. So you can't help but be changed from simply reading those lines. So it's a very deep thing. I think we do need more scriptures and more knowledge, and that is very pure in its way and very intentionally put together. So it's a journey. it's a journey to be able to express the knowledge of the world that we're moving into, to make that accessible for the people in the now. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's very fascinating. You can you can plant seeds with art as well. Plant seeds of wisdom and knowledge for people to unlock subliminally. And that's one of the fascinating things about this third dimension that we're in, is, the gift of being able to experience these type of things in form. Because when we go into the higher planes, this stuff isn't really necessary once you get past. I mean, of course, I don't know the full-blown answer, but as soon as you get past probably like the fifth or sixth dimension or so, there's no need for symbolism, because everything is just so much etheric light. And we can tend to get bogged down quite easily because we're in a third dimension and it's dense and all these things. But these are the kind of things that are very unique and fascinating about this realm that we don't always get to experience outside of these bodies, which is symbolism and art and all these different expressions of the one true creator, which is in all. And yeah, it's just really awesome. And welcome in Soul Awakening with Sandra.
Hey, welcome. Yeah,
We're just sharing art right now, talking about art. So Sandy, if you have any type of art you would like to share, feel free to let us know.
yes.
Maybe you can pop on for a moment.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. And I also want to say, you guys yourself are also art. Like, just you as a whole, you're art. Your body's art, your mind is art, your emotions are art. Everything about you is art too. And you're the artist of your own canvas. You're the one that puts clothes on every day. You're the one that does your hairstyle. You're the one that either shaves or doesn't shave, wears crystal bracelets, wears necklaces, all these different things. And again, it's so fascinating, this vessel that we get and how we get to authentically be the artist of it.
And now, like, I love crystal bracelets and necklace. I have them, but like, I usually, what it turns out, one day I give them away. No, the journey of the last years for me, they come and they go, and it's a very beautiful journey. I personally, right now, the last days, I'm not wearing any. It's something that I personally just, we can say what we want, but the world we live in, they do judge and plays you into certain things. So the message that I share, and in the environment that I'm in, I'm not looking to look too spiritual. I ain't want to look spiritual at all, to be honest, because I'm just one of them. Like, there's no difference, so it's a very different life path that I choose, I feel, though I love them, like, I love rearing them because I just feel great having a relationship with them. I really do. But on the other side, I am the crystal. I am the crystal. I am the power plant. So this is what I'm here for. And this is just so beautiful to work with them, and to know that I don't need them at the same time. I'm not depending on them, so to say.
Yeah. The way I see it is, it's like a collaboration. It's a collaboration of one energy field with another energy field. And, we have, again, this is kind of like, another blessing or beauty of this third dimension is that we get these different tools and different forms of different energy frequencies to utilize at our own free will. You can take it or leave it any time. And you can either utilize that energy field with your energy field, or you can just work with your own energy field. And the real beauty of it is that either way is okay, and it's not right or wrong. And
Sandy can't share light language, you say.
Oh, okay. Light language. If you want to come on and share. I just got this tower here, and I wanted to share this with you guys because I love the art of this tower. This is a 1000-eye jasper, and I was just gifted this for Christmas from community. And another thing that's pretty fascinating about art is formations. The points, the amount of sides, the geometry of things, and how those specific details can help alter the imprint of energy and also the current and vortex of energy as well. It's a very fascinating thing in this third dimension, how different shapes, different numbers, and different sizes is able to manifest and direct energy in these different type of currents and vortexes.
That's right. The same thing with my art, it's it's connected. So we live in such a magical world, crystals, they're so beautiful, and you feel it. You feel the different energies of different crystals and different shapes and forms, and colors and numbers. It all does make so much sense, and it's great, and I'm grateful that we finally remember and speak about it openly and publicly. Yeah, very, very important.
Yeah, for sure.
She's just on her phone. Okay, she can't come on, but that's okay, is it?
Yeah. We can feel your light language anyway, if you share it from there. Thank you, Sandy.
Yes, you can still bless us.
I know you were talking about, things come and go. And that definitely is a thing, 100%, because I just did a giveaway on Christmas. And, I was gifted this bumblebee jasper here when I was at a festival. And, it held its time with me. And then it just felt like it was time on Christmas to gift this to somebody else and allow somebody else to be able to, intuitively use their energy with it. And it's just so beautiful because, you get to experience the receiving, and that beauty of receiving is just such a very unique experience. And then, you have your journey and you get to experience with that item. And then once, it feels right and it feels like it's that time, then you also get to experience the beauty of allowing another reflection of yourself to be able to experience the joy and the excitement and the beauty of receiving that gift as well, just like you did, but in their own way. And it's a continuous process of giving and receiving in this world that I'm starting to see and notice. And it's such a unified experience when, we experience something ourselves, and then, we get to hand that to somebody else and allow them to experience something similar, but in their own unique way. It's one of the most valuable things that I really cherish in this life, for sure.
Yeah. Crystals, they help me a lot as well, in airplanes.
Ooh.
Just surrounded by my crystals, they just help me to stabilize the field. Here in my home, I have crystals everywhere as well, in most corners of my house. So we have to learn, each one of us, for ourselves, how we can set up our own creational place, or place to create, to be, to do whatever we feel like doing, and to set up a place intentionally that supports you. Crystal can support you with that. So, different qualities and different crystals. I'm not too much into it. I think Brother Marcus, ChristoLight can talk a little more about that. But, clear quartz for me personally, I love to work with it, just for its clarity that it gives me, and to be very clear in its transmission of energy and storing, and and the citrine is very present with me for 2 years. Very beautiful shaped citrine, very special actually. I might get it. Yeah, I'm going to show it.
Awesome. Yeah, I love crystals. I actually got crystal healing certified in 2018. And I definitely am not like attached to crystals or like all or nothing about crystals. I see the value in them, and I know the knowledge of what they are in this world. So, I work with them, and it's a natural connection that I have in this life. And a lot of us have a very natural connection to crystals dating back to ancient times. And they're utilized for so many different things in this world that we actually don't even realize sometimes that crystals are being used for the technologies and for the things that we use in this world. Citrine.
Yes, sir. Like, it's real interesting, like it's a little green, I think. Oh no, it's just so it's just beautifully quartzy, citrine, and the shape, I feel like it's just something different. It makes something with me, it's yeah. And one more, I don't know if you know these, it's an
Oh,
andara.
what is that?
It's very glassy from its look, and andara comes from Indonesia.
I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, they're very beautiful. They're very deep, very grounding, but also, wow. It really looks. They can look like glass. They're in different colors. This is a blue one, obviously. We have a red and a lighter blue as well of those of these, or green. So they appear in different colors, and they look really different in their shapes, you must say. So this has like many corners to it. It's just fascinating. I think like the most important thing with anything in life, how does it make you feel? Not what your mind says, it's not what your thoughts are saying. It's about how does it make you feel. And if you're able to make yourself so clean in the way that you feel and experience things, and the subtleness of things, the subtle energies, you know, the energies in our subtle energy body, like you start feeling what things do with you, no matter what it is. If it's a crystal, if it's a citrine, or if it's a rose quartz, like, you know, you feel some things, you know? So, and even with food, you feel what it does to you, you know? Anything that you consume, if you smoke weed, you smoke it and you feel what it does to you. You know, you can't deny it. So it's all doing something with us, and we gotta use it wisely and not be used by it, you know?
Yeah. Well said. And also remember, everybody out there too, that all these things that we are looking at and describing and talking about, they're also not separate from us. They are us. They're an extension of consciousness, just as we are, just in a different vibratory form. And you know, a little bit about crystals for everybody out there, because I am crystal healing certified. So I went through some certifications and went through some knowledge learning about crystals and just what they are and the baseline and fundamentals. And just long story short is, you know, just like anything else, they are a vibratory energy field. And these dimensional forms right here are basically the bodies. Just as we have a human body, these crystals have these mineral bodies. And these mineral bodies basically act as blueprints, or kind of like gateways for spiritual energy to be able to be transmitted through these forms. So then, depending upon the mineral compound, depending upon the vibration of the crystal, depending upon the formation of it, the color, and so many more things, they all contribute and factor into what kind of authentic experience or what type of authentic energy it's able to transmit into this vibratory field that we're in, this earth plane. So as much as it seems like it could just be an object that has no consciousness whatsoever, it does have consciousness, just as the trees have consciousness, as our plants, the animals, and everything else. Now, it's not a third dimensional consciousness. It's more like a one dimension or two dimensional consciousness. So it's not able to, you know, go and build things or go and destroy things. It requires higher dimensional things or higher dimensional forms to utilize it and put it into use. So with that being said too, you know, crystals also have a spirit, so to say, or some type of soul essence to it, just as everything else does in existence. And when you study the Hermetics or the Kabbalion, where they go into the 7 Hermetic principles, they talk about the plane of correspondence. And in the plane of correspondence, they talk about the different subtle planes that we have in existence. And they're all mental planes. And these subtle planes go into detail about what each different dimensional plane is. So you have, for example, you know, the human mind, you have the animal mind, you have the plant mind, you have the mineral mind, and there's more as well. And crystals fall under the mineral mind. So they're mineral forms, and then they have a spirit that is connected to them that is able to represent that mineral form. So when we're interacting with these crystals mentally, we're basically time traveling into the mental dimension of that crystal. And then we're exchanging and interacting with the mental vibrations of that authentic spiritual connection. It's very fascinating stuff. I started really seeing my crystals very differently when I started reading that kind of knowledge, because then it made me think like, wow, I'm sitting here thinking that this is just a finite object that has no consciousness or no spiritual energy. But in reality, I can really interact with this telepathically. And I can interact with it in many different ways spiritually. So it's just quite fascinating when you get into that kind of stuff. And I actually do have a video on my YouTube channel called Crystal Healing 101, where I go in depth about the stuff I just talked about. And you guys can always tap in and just learn some basics about crystals and how you can use them in your everyday life.
Yeah, man, good stuff.
Yeah.
You know, we gotta learn to design our life intentionally, you know, and if you know what the consequences are of your actions, you learned from your past. You can predict your own future, you know, and the more you do what you do and are with yourself and mind your own business, then you see how everything that you experience is managed by you. Whoa. You know, very, very trippy, to be honest, but it's true. Very trippy, but it's true. Yeah.
The great paradoxes of life.
Yeah.
Like,
You know,
I was just watching a
Grant,
show. Go ahead.
Robert Grant said it's the you inverse. You know, it's a term that he came up with. It's the you inverse that we live in. Yeah.
I like that.
Mm.
I was just watching a show. It was Christmas night. Yeah, Christmas night. I was watching a show with my mom and sister because they were visiting. And the show was about basically, it was kind of like a mimic version of The Amazing Race. The Amazing Race is where they go around the world. There's these couples or these teams, and they have like objectives that they got to do. And the first one to get to the finish line wins and all that stuff. They win a prize. And they were recording that show within the actual show that we were watching. And it was just like me like analyzing that. It was one of those moments of like where you're just like, you know, looking into that funneling mirror that keeps on mirroring, and you're just like, wow, it's so fascinating. Like, here I am sitting here watching a show that is acting like they are recording a show in the show. And then I started thinking like, and here I am sitting on the couch in this universe, which is also basically a show. It's like, wow. So trippy. So
Yeah.
I was going to share a little bit of poetry with everybody. And this poetry I wrote in 2017, back during my stay in prison. And while I was in there, I had some very, very deep self-reflective time. And it really brought out a lot of light and dark within myself. But this first one I have is called, well, actually it doesn't even have a title, but it goes like this. So I look around and I lay my eyes of 3 on the surrounding. No judgment, observation, and listening. I keep an open heart to all walks of life. Filled with empathy, but doesn't mean a king cannot reveal the lion tamed inside. Thankful for the Lord to bless me with patience and peace. I have the energy and wisdom of compassion to bring anyone together. Little do we know that we each fit the conscious puzzle. Different unique pieces with authentic energy. I have nothing to prove to no man, just God, the source of all that blesses me. 2017. Thank you guys for listening to that one.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. You know, I get when I get into the flow, it's very raw, very light and dark. And that's my favorite stuff is, you know, when it's full of everything. It's just raw, it's honest, it's real. You know, it's not sugarcoating, it's not polarizing. It's the reality. And, you know, we're all light and dark. We're all going to experience light and dark while we're here in this vessel. And here's one more that I'll share with you guys. This one is called Environment. So I wrote this at a time where, you know, I was just reflecting on how the environment had influenced me to get to prison in my life. And of course, there's accountability of my own self, but my environment that I was keeping myself in was definitely influencing me in my decision making. And then I was just looking around within that setting of prison at the environment and just seeing how many people were influenced by the environment of prison, doing things that they typically wouldn't even do if they weren't there. And then for me, seeing my own self not giving into the environment, and just a fact of my experience and walk while in prison was I had really zero negative conflict, and I was also able to, you know, not give into my environment to the degree where I basically became like a spiritual light, a lighthouse for everybody in there that was around me. I was teaching them guided meditation through breath work. I was also teaching them the chakras and how to balance their chakras through breath work meditation. And then along with that, I was also reading scripture and then kind of reflecting the scripture to them in more tangible ways for them to understand. So it was a very powerful experience, and I would never take that away from my timeline ever, because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't even have the wisdom and knowledge that I have today to be able to relate to so many that go through those type of valleys in life. But yeah, this one's called Environment, July 1st, 2017. And it goes, Environment, oh environment, how you can suck me into your corrupt ways, analyzing others that teach me how to misbehave. But sometimes, just sometimes, there's one that shows me how to be brave and go the other way. You're staining my brain as I observe every little grain. I try not to blame or shame, because I realize not everyone is sane. My love is what I've gave, and you still play these games. Are you supposed to break from pain? Because pain to me equals more gain. Yes, I know. we don't operate the same. Maybe because I stay high on the internal flame and stay in my lane. It's like you want something from me. I can't just be in peace. I swear, sometimes you just want me to unleash the beast. Environment. I gotta start writing poetry again.
Yeah, it's very freeing.
Yeah.
To create it.
Mm-hmm. And I like to
Nice
just, I like to share it without expectation when I create it. But then I also know too that it's going to be relatable in its own authentic way, out of my own hands for people. And something I really like about it too is just to give people the opportunity to get their wheels turning, to go introspective and think a little bit deeper through these words and through these experiences that I describe, and just give people a real sensory experience.
Like it's very interesting because we have so different, like where we put our focus is so different. So when you explain your mind, like you go into detail in that way, you kind of give people the process of like how you say it. For me personally, I'm just like, I don't know what's coming next, I'm just so open to life and whoever it brings to me, in its forms. Yeah, and the way I'd say I'm presenting, definitely like more, I can remember events, certain events. I like to go back to certain events that really have carved my way. And this is also the way that we are creative, creative art flow. Like what kind of art are we creating in our life and how we do it? So living an intentional life, it comes up again and again, the word intention. We pay attention to that and really take time to craft our message, what we're here to speak for and speak up for, and we all gotta find that voice within us that is speaking truth, no matter who is standing in front of us, and not just because you feel you're not enough to speak up against, I don't know, a family member, a friend. You don't want to disrupt or destroy someone's belief system. And this is not what we should have as an intention. But what we should have as an intention is clearly just to speak our truth. Speak our truth. No people pleasing. Really looking at ourselves, how much truth am I actually talking? And doing this all day is a challenge, You gotta be true to yourself first. And know why you do what you do and how you do it. We are powerful beings and speak things into existence. So at first there was the word. So which word are you putting first? Be very mindful of your word and what spell you cast upon yourself, because the cast that you call upon yourself will be yours. So, or the spell that you cast on yourself will be yours. We gotta be very, very clear about what we're creating. And creative art flow, you know, like we are all creating all the time. Every cause has an effect. So every time I do something, I'm causing something to happen. And the question is, can I live with that? Do I want to live with that? I'm very happy with what I created this year. You know, I was a little shitty this year regarding my health. I disregarded my health. You know, the time in Australia, I was very clean. When I came back, I was very pure and clean from the way my lifestyle was. And here I, wasn't quite disciplined in that. And I was sick more than ever, I felt this year. Much cleansing happened. So definitely one thing that I want to do, you know, in my creation for 2025 is looking after my health. First priority, you know, my health, like standard. Health is the most important. And what I mean by that is the consume, what I eat. You know, sugar and all of those things. Like really see what feels right for you and what does not feel right for you. What gives you energy when you do it and what not. Because if you're more low on energy after you finished something, like why the heck you're doing it? You know, why have I done it this year? I was actually just giving a fuck. I'm totally honest. I was taking the consequences. I was sure about that. I was surrounded by people who were eating those things. So for me, again, as always, a great experiment. But honestly, to eat clean and to really leave the sugars behind, leave the gluten behind, you know, leave the wheat behind. You know, like it's very difficult. It's very, very difficult in the world that we live in. If you live in, you know, just like surrounded by people who eat those things, I put myself into situations where I hang out with people who aren't talking about what I'm talking on this podcast every single week. And you know, the people that I spend my time with in my free time, they don't talk about those things, Marcus. So, you know, I'm in a very different atmosphere. I have a very different mission to other light workers, you know, or coaches or healers, you know, that most or some of them do it online, or some other podcast people or people who put themselves out there. You know, I'm in the field, and I must say I'm in the field, bro. I see them all. You know, I see what's happening in the world with the people, at least in Germany. And yeah, it's very scary. I hope, you know, and I bet it will be like that as well. I hope and bet that our generation will be healthy when we are in that age, that the people the older generations are right now. I believe we are in a better health and better conditions than our grandfathers and parents, you know. I believe so. Because we start making healthy choices. And this is very important. And we learn, we observe what does not work. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing all that. It kind of it goes back to that poem that I shared, Environment. environment, how you can suck me in. Oh man. And that's where boundaries come in. Boundaries. To know ourselves, to know our own boundaries. And like, you know, boundaries aren't, it's not like, I don't know, sometimes I feel like some of us think boundaries are like, gotta be taken to the extreme. Like, oh, I gotta have a boundary. Like, that means this is bad, you know, something like that. Like, no, it's just more so of like, I understand how I operate, what's best for me, and I don't want to partake in these things coming into my energy field. So I choose to have a boundary so I do not consent to these energies coming into my field. And yeah, it's a journey in this day and age that we're in when it comes to health. And, you know, the United States, when statistically looking at the science, it is, well, according to statistics, and who knows what statistics really are about, you know, they say that this is the most obese and most disease-ridden country in the whole world. And it's kind of saddening to see, honestly, like the normality of basically poisoning ourselves daily and like thoroughly enjoying it and neglecting
it's crazy to
and like neglecting to even like bat an eye or even consider that, you know, the food and the things that you're consuming are the reasons why you have diabetes, or the reason why you're obese, the reason why you have heart issues, the reason why you're struggling to have energy through the day. And for myself, I still find myself in a lot of settings, even in community, even here at home. I live with my dad. Well, my dad's currently on a tube feeding system. Well, but the main reason why he's even on a tube feeding system now is because of his diet that he had over the years. It messed with his blood pressure, his heart. His blood pressure was out of control for too long. He had a brain hemorrhage. So I learn from these things around me. And when I see that something is causing illness in someone, or it's causing them to really have a very dampened version of life, then I learn from that and I integrate that for myself. And I'm like, okay, you know, if these things are going to be the cause and effect of what my dad's going through, then I'm going to do what I can to make sure I don't follow the same footsteps. So, you know, I find myself now fully plant-based, and I try to go for no artificials and synthetics. And it's not something I do for the world. It's not something I do because of what the media says. It's not something I do because of what community says. It's something I do because of my own authentic spirit and what resonates for me and the life that I live. You know, as someone that's constantly moving energy, holding space for people, transmuting, I need my vessel to be as light as it can be and as efficient and clean as it can be as well. But that's me personally. You know, you could be living a lifestyle where you're trying to, you know, gain a lot of muscle. You're trying to be really strong for whatever it is that you do. So maybe you live a life where you're basing yourself off of high protein, high carbs, and things of that nature. It's really authentic to all of us. And yeah, it is difficult though when you get into those environments and you're the only one that's plant-based, and then everybody else isn't even close to plant-based, and you're just trying to figure out how to eat something with everybody, and there's nothing there that's plant-based. It's a tricky situation, because I know for myself, I'm not sure if it's the same for you, but my body's so sensitive now because of how clean I have it, that if I decide to actually just go ahead and eat some red meat or a bunch of dairy because I'm with family one day, then I feel that effect heavily. So it's a very critical choice for me in those moments of, do I decide to consume this, or do I just like go bare minimal and just try to get through this, or go bring my own stuff? And I found bringing my own stuff was a great solution. And also communicating.
Yeah, bringing my own sounds wise. Yeah. So, my family started started acknowledging my lifestyle. So, and like last year Christmas there was none, but this year Christmas there was some. So, there's I see the improvement, and I see that this year someone thought of me on the Christmas dinner. So that was that's very beautiful. So yeah, I think it's very very difficult. I totally get you. I've been in many situations,
Yeah.
also with alcohol, cigarettes, anything. So we got to learn what's ours and what not, and what we want. It's very important that we know what we want, as like a feeling, as like just follow that sensation that just does everything for it. You'll be right if you do that. And if you understand what I've just said.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
Yep. And a lot of times, I don't say a lot of times, but sometimes we're ignoring those signals that our very, very conscious body is telling us.
And when this is it, and the signals get louder and louder, or heavier and heavier. The symptoms get heavier and heavier. You get more sick, you get this, you get that, one by another. And if you do not listen, you end up not healthy and needing help to survive, by something or someone. So I want to be healthy when I'm older. I see much sickness, really, almost every day. And it's very sad how, as you just said it as well, it just deeply, deeply resonated, brother, that it's normal to poison ourselves. And the poisoning of ourselves, to normalize this. And we don't even need to count all of it, we all know it. I think 2024, come on guys, let's call the earth, let's call upon the earth, all the people upon the earth. In 2025, everyone realizes that we are poisoning ourselves. We all realize we are poisoning ourselves in 2025. How about that? We gotta speak about it, we gotta change it, we gotta find solutions to do something better. And the solutions are already here. We're talking about it every time. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like we're getting a very good start into 2025 with addressing and speaking on these things. And this is not about politics when I bring this up, but here in the United States, this new administration that we have coming into office, there is a large emphasis on combating the health crisis. And Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is at the forefront of being a voice with his platform for speaking on these things that we're talking about, the chronic disease that's happening everywhere and with so many, the constant inflammation inside of people, the children. Oh my gosh, don't even get me started about the children. Like, when I started really sitting down and processing what he was talking about in his podcast and on these stages, he's talking about, how children are being fed all of these artificials and all these dyes and all these different chemicals that are causing ADHD, causing hypertension, causing all of these things that we think our kids are just like born with and they just have it. No, these things don't just happen. These are imbalances that are manifest through the things in their vibration field. If they're constantly eating a bunch of artificial sugars, chemical dyes, and other things that are going to, out of whack the nervous system, going to start deteriorating the immune system, and all of these different things, I mean, what else can we expect to happen? It's like that quote, you keep on doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. What is that? That's insanity. Like, are we going to expect to really get healthier and our children are going to be able to be more sharp, clear, grounded, stable if we just continue to feed them junk food, feed them all of these fake juices with artificial dyes and chemicals, when we have options of real nature-based things that don't cause these things? And I'm just grateful at this time that we're currently in and moving into, to have people like RFK using their major platform around the world to bring this stuff to the forefront, because man, it's time. It's time that we really address this. We need to address, here in America, we have the FDA, the CDC, and these are supposed to be our governing bodies that are supposed to be analyzing and making sure that things are clean ingredients, that they're non-toxic, non-poisonous for us. And they just haven't been doing that for a very long time. But we have people now that are wanting to address that, and they're using their abilities and their capabilities and the positions that they're in to bring it to the forefront, to magnify it for everybody, so everybody can have their own neutral perspective of the information and the facts and the science. And then we're going to be given more options of how we can choose in our own sovereignty as an individual what options we want to go with after being educated with the facts and the science of what these certain things are causing with us. It's going to be very unique, and I'm here for it. And I just continue to give my hopes and prayers that this will continue forward and any resistance will continue to be brought to light.
It's such a deep topic, we could keep talking on it, but I really do, I really looked at just sometimes we gotta name the shit, but then we gotta focus back on solution. So I'm not taking too much space in that field these days. I'm really looking, just because I'm listening to so many people, or meet so many people every day, or most days. When I'm at home, I'm just very conscious about what type of news I consume, and really, 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 really careful on everything that is, you know, in the news, and even like it's because sometimes I gotta get the information doesn't need to be that every day I must be with that type of information. Everything circles back at the same time, but if it's not the time, I ain't gonna focus on it. I gotta focus on it when it's time. So
Yeah.
we gotta find out our own rhythm with things, and when it meets you back, you spend time and focus with whatever it is that is important to you. And if it's right now not there, don't do it. Don't do it if it's not there. Do it when it's there. Yeah. We gotta find back to the simplicity. And I tell you, to talk the way that I talk today, as you know, it takes courage. And you drop tears and you bleed and you fucking go your way. It's not always comfortable. It's not what life life is always about when you grow comfortable. So yeah, you gotta be, you gotta put the work in. You gotta release the demons. You gotta release. And yeah, just be you, in total balance and perfect alignment with the truest part of who you are, your godly self. And then you tune into that part of yourself that is not affected by gravity. You just that self that does not experience any type of gravity at all. So you do not feel any gravity at all in the self that you are. And feeling no gravity at all is allowing you to really observe yourself in a different way, and the things around you, and the things that you listen to, and the things you say, and how you say the things you say. Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. Well said.
Crispy times, bro. Crispy times.
Crispy times. Oh yeah. Well, brother, I think
Sounds like, yeah. Easy.
I guess this could be a good place to leave off for this episode. How do you feel?
It's what I meant with easy. I picked up on it. Yeah.
It's in the ether. The rhythm of the ethers.
It's always in the ether. Yeah. We gotta.
Yep.
It's our time now, guys. Everyone who listens, everyone ever listening to this, it's our time now. Yeah. It's all in the ether. Let's bring it here.
That's right. Yeah, alchemist. Yeah, alchemist of life. Yana sutupayana shikiana tiatu satachi mikiana tupa yasatianata ishukotianata upayana sutupa inikitupa ishikiana kutuka isimiki ai asoto a shikiana toka ti yapaya kutu a isimiktu a ishinikituta yana shikiana to yana kutu ata yashi inada tukuta yana kototo shinekniana tutuka nikno kutota yana kia na kutua yamato inashikiana ta yana kutota. There's a little bit more art for you guys to close out. Namaste, everybody. Ooh.
Yes, sir. See you soon. My people, enjoy. Create something. Be creative. Follow your inspiration. Be aware of your intention.
Mm-hmm. Wholeness and balanced
your
love.
Yes. Balanced love. One love, bro.
One love. Everybody have a blessed weekend. See you guys